again, I'm coming as a Jewish, I'm not coming as a Christian,
Right.
and I'm not coming as simply an Israeli. They understood I'm coming as a citizen of Israel who believes in Jesus. I said, listen, we're not, just so you know, I know this is exciting, and I know the guys at Hot are excited, but we're not staying on cable.
This isn't going to last.
There's no way that the Orthodox community, that the government, they will find a way to take us off the air.
Shalom and welcome to the first ever Shelanu TV podcast. I am Evan Santoro, the director of Shelanu TV, and here with me is Ron Cantor, the president of Shelanu TV, and also the founder of Messiah's Mandate. And we are going to talk to you about everything. We're going to talk about, of course, the war that's going on in Israel. We're going to talk about politics. We're here to talk about faith, to help you understand what's going on in Israel, how to witness to Israelis, how to witness to Jews. Everything you could imagine, we're here to talk to you and hopefully also hear your comments. We want to hear from you, questions, things that you want to know, and we'll be able to interact and relate to them as well. So it's wonderful to be here with you.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this. And I thought we discussed earlier, and we thought, first of all, we should probably talk about Shelanu TV.
Yeah.
Who is Shelanu TV? What it is? How did it happen? What do we do? And it's a miracle, the story and how it came to be. So Ron was there from the beginning. He was influential in it happening. So tell us, Ron, Shelanu TV, how did it happen?
How did we end up
where we are today?
Hebrew-speaking, Yeshua-sharing TV channel.
That's it.
It's really an amazing story. It's a God story. And you know, if somebody told me even 10 years ago, you know, you're going to be part of birthing the first ever Hebrew-speaking gospel channel in Israel, I don't want to say I wouldn't have believed them. I would have thought, okay, how's that going to happen? But I certainly would have been excited because it is awesome that we have a channel where we have believers from around the country, and most everyone on our channel is a native-born Israeli. You know, Hebrew is their native tongue. One day, I'd love to do an episode where we talk about Eliezer ben Yehuda, the father of modern Hebrew. How is it that Hebrew was a dead language for, I don't know, almost 2,000 years, and now it is? My wife grew up with no other language but Hebrew. But now we have a channel that shares.
We're still trying to learn Hebrew.
Yeah. It's
taken us a little.
They say
bit
in
longer.
Hebrew, one of the first things I learned in Hebrew was about we don't really say it in English, but breaking your teeth. That's what you go through when you learn a new language. So I'm still breaking my teeth, but
I am as well.
But it all started in 2019. Just a little bit before then, maybe a year before then, we had gone on, when I say we, God TV. I used to be the regional director for God TV in Israel, and we went on the Hot cable channel, and it's not, I'm not calling it the Hot cable. It is called Hot. That's the name of it. Every time I say it, it's a hot channel. It is called Hot. That is the name. And the competition is Yes. So there's a big competition.
English names.
Yes and Hot. So they got a hold of me because we had been on the air with them. Somehow we got our English speaking channel on the air, and they took us out. We made a big deal. I was excited. You know, Ward Simpson came here. We made a big deal that we're on. Now, listen, this isn't a Hebrew-speaking country, so we were thrilled to be on the air, but it's not like, you know, hundreds of thousands of Israelis were watching a English-speaking and primarily not Messianic Jewish orientation, but a Gentile Christian orientation station. Nevertheless, it was exciting.
Right.
And they took us off the air. So we said, why? Why would you do that? And they said, well, we need the bandwidth. We thought, yeah, right. You just don't like us. So we went off the air. A year later, I get a text from the director of programming. This is March 2019. And he asked if he can meet with me. And I assumed it was they wanted us back on the air, but I went up to I don't even know that area right before. There's a little business park right before Netanya, and if you're watching, you don't know any of these words, but get out your Google Maps and start in Tel Aviv and drive north towards Netanya. And I get there, and the guy brings me to his office, and I'm thinking I'm gonna I'm gonna win this guy. I'm not thinking that we're gonna do any business with him. I'm there as an evangelist. I bring him my book, Identity Theft, which is in Hebrew.
Ah, okay. So you're going to witness to him. You're not even thinking about any kind of.
Well, in the back of my mind, but I I love hanging out with Israelis.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about getting involved with God TV, which is again, it's not a Jewish ministry.
Right.
But because it's such a big name, and they at one time our offices were here in Israel, is it opened up all these doors to meet with the CEOs of different, and again, I don't care about any of that. I care about the good news of Yeshua.
Right.
And it opened up doors for me to be a witness that as a Tel Aviv pastor, which was fun and amazing, an amazing 3.5-year experience. I ministered primarily to believers.
Right.
So it was exciting to meet with people. And as a believer, got to meet the foreign secretary, Sarah Chutz, got to interview her, Tzipi Chotoveli, back about 4 or 5 years ago. Right. And again, I'm coming as a Jewish, I'm not coming as a Christian, and I'm not coming as simply an Israeli. They understood I'm coming as a citizen of Israel who believes in Jesus.
Believes in Jesus.
So, getting back to the meeting. I go in, I give my book, and we're just talking for 45 minutes. I'm all in Hebrew, sharing my testimony with him. And then finally I said, Lama nipo, why am I here? What did you invite me here? It's getting a little bit late.
This was nice.
And he says, I would like God TV to come back on the air. And I said, well, not interested. He said, why are you not interested? I said, well, number one, you threw us off last time. We made a big deal about it, and you threw us off.
Right.
And he said, no, that was a bandwidth issue. I said, I've heard that. He said, no, it really was. And I promise we're not going to throw you off this time. I said, well, you know what? Besides all that, we're going to have to pay you a lot. And he wanted a lot of money. Right. We ended up negotiating to a very affordable price in the end, but it was a lot of money. And I said, you want us to pay this ridiculous amount of money for an English-speaking station in a Hebrew-speaking country? And I said, I'll tell you what I am. And I didn't even believe this. I mean, let me rephrase that. I didn't believe it was a possibility, but I just, for the fun of it, I said, you know what I would be interested in is a Hebrew-speaking station on your network.
On your platform.
And Hot reaches about half of the TV watchers in Israel. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, that would be the end of the discussion. And he said, well, let's do it. And I said, his name's Ron. I said, my name too. I said, Ron, listen. I'm now counseling him. I'm like, you don't understand. This is you don't want the headache of putting us on your. He's like, no, let's. I could not talk him out of it, and I said, okay. So I get in the car, I drive home, I call up Ward Simpson, CEO of God TV. I said, we've got a pretty amazing opportunity here. The problem was, Evan, is that we didn't have money. Ward had. I think he had become the CEO about 2 years before. God TV was in horrible debt.
Right.
He was doing his best to turn things around, to pay off all the, and he couldn't imagine taking on another debt. And I said, I agree, I'm with you, but this is Israel. This is Hebrew. Yeah. We've never. So I got him in touch with the folks at Hot. We continued to talk. And about June of 2019, so 3 months later, Ward is about to write an email to say, listen, we are so grateful that you considered us for this Hebrew-speaking station, but we just can't take on any debt right now. And we're really, before he can send it, somebody calls him up, a guy that he barely knows, and a donor, and he said, I heard about this project, a Hebrew-speaking channel in Israel. He said, wow. I want to donate $1 million. Wow. So that turned everything around. Yeah. Delete. He never sent the email. He called me up. We called Hot up. Word came to Israel. We signed contracts. And one of the most exciting things about Shelanu TV is that we've been able to give a platform to folks without a platform. Right. There are anointed Hebrew-speaking ministers and people who aren't even in full-time ministry, but they've got something to say, whether it's a music video, a talk show, a testimony, and it's been a source of unity, of bringing people together. We never charge. In fact, we will actually pay people to come and host. We want to bless. We don't want to take. Absolutely. And so we called for a meeting. I don't know if you were there. You were there.
I was there for that. I came in right about there.
Okay, so we did. We wondered who's going to lead this thing on the ground. Yeah. And, Asher Intrader was the first, your
I
father.
remember he turned to me and he said, do you know anyone that can lead, anyone that could do this? And I was currently working, and I said, me. He said, can you recommend anyone? I said, I don't know if I can do this, but yeah, I'm me. I think I would be great for that. So,
He said to me, because your father had just passed away,
Right.
Eddie Santor, who we
Yeah.
all knew and loved, and was a dear friend of mine. Going back to, of course, I visited your house when you were probably 6 years old, and I was Mike Brown's boy, Dr. Michael Brown.
Yep.
I would follow him around and
Eat pizza.
And I would eat pizza, and he would preach, and I would catch people.
Yeah.
So Asher said, this is part of me
Right.
honoring Eddie, even though he's with the Lord now. I want to continue to honor his legacy. Asher's written a book that is a kind of a guiding force for a lot of us, called Covenant Relationships. Our individual lives before Yeshua. That is not and I'd love to talk about this one day, but that is not the focus of the primary evangelist missionary in the New Covenant is Paul.
Right.
And he never made a differentiation between a person coming to Yeshua and being part of a New Covenant community. We're all connected.
Right.
And so he felt very strongly about you being the station manager, now the director. And so we had this banquet.
Right.
And we had 120, nice number, by the way, 120 leaders from all over Israel. We invited him there. And we invited Ron from Hot.
Right.
And we had this big banquet. We shared the vision with people, and people got excited. And Ron from Hot got up. This was probably the most exciting part. Now, he's not a believer. You understand? He just knows us. And he gets up and he says, this is historic. There has never been a Messianic Jewish Hebrew-speaking station in the history of Israel. So he was a great salesman. And everybody got excited, and we encouraged people to make media.
Yep.
And then we birthed it. We birthed it on Independence Day, Yom HaAtzmaut, 19, it shows how old I am, 2020.
2020. Yep.
And we went on the air. And I remember being at home. They were it's on. And I'm turning my channel. It's not on. Turning my channel. It's not on. They give it time. It'll circulate.
Yeah, it took a couple hours, days.
And then suddenly it was on.
It was on.
And there we were sharing the gospel, seeing friends of mine, sharing their testimonies, and it was a pretty we were not just on, putting YouTube videos up.
Right.
We were on Israeli TV. Yeah. That was a huge moment. And then about a week later is when I think, can we say all hell broke loose? Are we allowed to say that?
I think so.
All hell broke loose. It was a wave of negative energy coming against us. And it was coming from, of course, the Orthodox community. And by the way, I had told Ward this months before.
Right.
I said, listen, we're not, just so you know, I know this is exciting. And I know the guys at Hot are excited, but we're not staying on cable.
It isn't going to last.
There's no way that the Orthodox community, that the government, they will find a way to take us off the air. And we just need to be ready at that moment, because we're going to go online and we're going to establish an online TV ministry in Hebrew.
The day after, as they say.
Yeah. Right now we're talking about the day after Hamas. We're talking the day after Hot, the day after they shut us down. So we were already working on for the day after they would take us off the air, before even there was any backlash. But a week later, it was a Sunday morning, which for you watching at home, Sunday here is Monday. Here's a little lesson for you at home if you've never lived in Israel. And you may remember this when you first moved here. But when you wake up on so Friday for us is like Saturday for you. When most of us don't work on Friday, we have a big family meal together. And then when you wake up on Saturday morning, it was always, let me turn off my ringer here, telling me all the horrible news. When you wake up on Saturday morning, I don't know about you, but you knew it's Saturday, and we went to the same congregation, Tiferet Yeshua, still go there, and I knew it was Saturday. And then we'd go home with our kids, and we would know that they have school the next day because Sunday's a school day.
Right.
So we'd go home and we'd be like 6, 7, 8 at night, and we're getting lunch ready. And in my brain, I would start thinking that tomorrow's Monday because the kids are going to school. How could the kids
You
go to
always a
school?
day off.
Yeah, I was a new immigrant.
Yep.
And then I would think, football game's on. Big football fan. And football, when I first moved here 20 years ago, football was my cultural, because there's no fall here. You don't feel fall. You don't see the leaves change. And the only thing that would make me feel like fall weather was football.
It was football.
And I couldn't wait. And it was 8 p.m. when it would start here, 7 hours later. And I would start to think it's Sunday night. And football's going to be on. I would get the kids to bed ready and make a steak. You know, I would buy these. Remember Meatland?
Yeah. They actually just went out of business.
They went out of business
A month ago.
Wow.
It's a place in Renana where I live where they were known for having American products.
Right. Meatland was where all the Anglo-Saxons shopped. And we lived in a city, you still live there, called Ra'anana, which is the pearl of the Sharon area. It's one of the nicest cities, suburbs of Tel Aviv. And a lot of immigrants. It's a real soft landing.
Yes.
If you're not a Hebrew speaker, everyone speaks English.
Everyone speaks
and there's Meatland, which is like maybe the dumbest name. And like, can you imagine America going to a store called Meatland, the land of meat?
And they didn't even. I mean, the meat wasn't their thing, but anyway.
At the time, meat here. If you bought the Israeli steak has come a long way.
Yes.
But when I moved here in 2003. It just if you went to a wedding and they were serving steak, it just had a funky odor. It was just, or taste. It was just, so you would go to Meatland and you would buy meat from South America.
Yeah, South America.
Uruguay.
Yeah.
And so I would freeze them and have one every Sunday night for my football game.
For your football game.
Anyways, I digress, but I would go. You see, we were worried about how long we could talk.
Talking about steak.
I would go to bed thinking I would put the kids to bed and think it was Sunday, only to find out, turn on the TV, it's still Saturday night. But then I would wake up Monday and Sunday, and the whole day I was convinced it was Monday because the kids are in school, I'm working. Anyways, I wake up on Sunday morning. I remember exactly where I was, and I open my computer, and there is an article in Haaretz, which is one of our largest newspaper, very left-leaning. If anything, I thought they would be a little bit friendlier to us. But what we found out, if there's anything that could bring the people of Israel together, it was that they all hate us. In fact, she said that.
A common enemy.
In fact, Judy Maltz, who I had, I wouldn't say we became friends. She certainly wouldn't say that, but we began to communicate. She's a reporter over at Haaretz, and since then we've actually communicated on other things. But she even did a podcast. And on this podcast, she said the one thing all Jews agree on is that you can't be Jewish and believe in Jesus. I was like, no, that is not true. Anyways, I see this article, and it was just the first of many, I'll call them hit pieces against us. Tremendous confusion. They didn't understand that we were an Israeli ministry. They didn't understand that our board was made up of all 4 out of 5 were Israelis, and 4 out of 5 were Jewish. Right. You say, well, who was the non-Jewish guy? It's Harun. Tell everybody who Harun is.
Harun is a Arab believer that grew up in Abu Ghosh.
Right.
And loves Israel probably more than we do.
Right.
He is the most Jewish-loving Arab. He's an amazing man. He has an amazing ministry. He works now with reaching the Arabs, the Muslims.
They have a TV station that goes into the Islamic world.
El Hayat.
El Hayat. Is it in Arabic or Farsi or both?
Both. He's got like 10 channels.
So Farsi is what they speak in Iran. Arabic is what they speak all over the Arabic-speaking world. And so he is on our board, and we love him. They're so generous to us. Without them, I don't think we'd still be in business. No. So we were a local ministry, but they thought we were a non-Jewish ministry, and we got a lot of help from God TV. From
God TV, they latched on to that.
Right, and so it was crazy. I was getting phone calls all day long. Reporters were reaching out, and it wasn't like I don't shy away from the camera. I enjoy media. I love media, but it was just
intense
pressure.
Yeah.
And you might remember at that time there was a little thing going around the world called COVID-19.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
You've heard of it. So that was late April 2020. Right. Israel was, we shut down more than most nations, and Tel Aviv being a very crowded city, it's not like being in Kansas.
No.
And so, we had to wear masks I was the happiest mask-wearing person because my face was in the newspaper. My face was on TV. My face was all over the world. I was terrified. And listen, if you want to judge me for being terrified, I live here. I moved here. I still live in this city. So it takes a certain amount of chutzpah just to do that. But no, I was not excited about going to the grocery store and people recognizing.
So you're
the
Messianic Jew and hot.
In reality, most Israelis didn't know about the controversy. It was a big deal in the Orthodox community. I lived in secular Tel Aviv where nobody cared.
Nobody cares, much less.
But nevertheless, that mask not only kept me from getting COVID, and now I know what you're saying. It doesn't work. We're not going to go there. Can we go back 3 years?
COVID doesn't exist.
You know what? We should go online and challenge. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
It's a governmental scam.
We're if you're not the
Earth is flat.
Yeah, the Earth is flat, but
COVID
we're not going.
Anyway, for me it was different because I was with the channel, and it's interesting because I know you kept talking about the pressure, but in the channel, we were great. I mean, we were going through it and everything was working, but I missed.
Yeah,
I heard about it. But I didn't have that.
Because I was
that experience.
Because
you became the face.
Ward, not just me, but Ward and myself, became the faces. But because I lived here,
sure, and
I was, doing interviews with the Jerusalem Post, responding to Haaretz, writing press releases,
right,
and in the beginning we were told don't write a press release, and I mean everything. I'm a communicator,
right?
So
don't communicate.
It's like telling a communicator not to communicate was. And what would happen is that it would come in waves, the backlash. And when they would say, don't write a press release or don't respond, we were ceding the narrative to those who were against us.
Right.
So finally I said, you know what? I'm not listening to anybody anymore. I'm writing our own press releases. We had a guy that was a sweet guy. I love him. But he was a PR consultant, an Israeli. Yeah. And he was saying that. And I finally said, you know what? No.
Get it.
We didn't fire him, but I said, and what happened? They printed my press release in Jerusalem Post. They printed in Haaretz, or at least sections of it.
Right.
And we were able to get our narrative out there. But I remember, Evan, one day, I was so stressed out. It was one morning, I'd taken Ilana to Netanya, and I was coming back to Tel Aviv.
Who is your wife?
Ilana's my wife.
She
is my dear, sweet, Israeli-born Sabra wife. And we get back, I get back by myself, and I have some worship music on in the car, and I am stressed out by this whole thing.
Sure.
And I just kind of sense God say to me, don't get out of the car. Wait for the worship song to end.
Wow.
And so I closed the door. I engaged in worship for about a minute and a half. And it was like the story of Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. Where Elijah's running from Jezebel and he's just suicidal. He's like, kill me. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And I wasn't suicidal, but I know that you're 1 minute you're on top of the world. We've just birthed the first ever Hebrew spit. It's awesome. Yeah. And I'm leading it. And then the next day it's like, I want to die. I want to disappear. And I was and it's like God came in the car.
Wow.
And in the story, Elijah is given a cake. It's more a piece of bread by an angel, and it sustains him for 40 days.
40 days.
And it was like God fed me. And I got out of that car, and I was suddenly, all right, bring it on. Bring on the interviews. Bring on CNN or whoever. NBC actually got a hold of me. Bring it on. And the Lord.
A miraculous renewal of.
I had grace.
Grace.
And so we endured for 2 months. Yep. And we wrote a press release where we said, listen, this is not Israel starts with an I, but it's not Iran. We're not a police state. We have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression. You may not like our message, but we told the government, legally, you cannot shut us down.
Right.
And they knew that. So they eventually they went to Hot. And again, what was Hot going to do? Were they going to hold out forever for some tiny little ministry versus?
So in the beginning,
they were awesome.
They were.
They stood with us
until they folded. They were amazing.
They were good for 2 months. And listen, to this day I honor them.
Yeah.
The fact that they even stood by us for 2 months was I wouldn't have. I mean, if I was in their position.
So do you know what happened? Because I don't know. I mean, I just know suddenly one day they decided that
we know that for 2 months they were like, we will not fold.
Ever.
We will not fold.
Yeah. We are with you.
And then we're like, it's not working out. I'm sure the government, I don't have proof of this, but the government made them an offer that they couldn't refuse. Yeah. And
that was that.
And that was that. But again, within 3 hours, we were back on the air on Shelanu.tv and now ShelanoTV.com, where people can see, because everything was originally in English. So I'm sorry, in Hebrew. In Hebrew. So we wanted to get so ShelanoTV.com is for our donors and English speakers. Right. And that was I got to do the math, 4 years ago. We're coming up on 4 years. This Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Yeah, it'll be 4 years.
And since then, we've grown. You guys, the team here, how many videos have you guys made over that time?
You had to ask that question. Huh? A lot.
I know it's over 300.
Yeah, no. At this point, I would say we're probably somewhere about 500. I would say
500. We did it.
We do so many different kinds, so it's hard. Some of them are short, some of them are YouTube. Again, you can talk about it, but we're on so many different platforms and social media. But I would say at least 500.
Yeah. So if you're still watching and you want to actually see what we do, go to ShelanoTV.com. There you can actually see our videos. There's English subtitles. One of my favorite shows was Hasalon, which is the living room.
Yeah.
And what you guys would do is you would take a carpet, an oriental red carpet, a red lamp.
Ostentatious red chair.
And a red chair. And you would go all over the country and you would hear the testimonies of different believers.
Right.
And some of those videos, again, we're in Israel, so everything's in Hebrew. And some of those videos have gotten over 40,000 views.
Absolutely.
And what's some of the responses that we've received? The good ones.
Right. I mean, obviously, like you said, the majority of our content, as the team, we laugh about it at this point because, as soon as you usually put a video up, the first majority of the responses are, die, we hope you get out of here, you're stealing Jewish souls. So we answer them very politely. And we try, even there, sometimes we manage to explain to them. But we've had amazing, as you know, part of the deal is that when they have an interest on the website, they can order a New Testament or your book and a couple other books that talk about Yeshua, all in Hebrew. Mm-hmm. And you'd be amazed how many requests we get from Israelis, non-believers, even religious communities, that we would send them a version. We send them in a manila envelope. It's got no markings. We send them New Testaments.
So you've gotten emails from rabbis.
We've gotten emails from rabbis, from women, from religious women, from secular that want us to send them a New Testament. And they respond.
And they ask for it by private courier.
Yeah, they always ask.
Because they can't get it in the mailbox.
No, we ask or they give us their address and their email. If they want, we can send it online, of course, copy. Most of them actually request a physical hard copy and or courier, or a lot of them give us their addresses because they understand that nobody knows. It's just an envelope. You can't tell what it is.
Right. So you just said something interesting. You talked about we get accused of stealing Jewish souls.
All the time.
Just about a month ago in the Jerusalem Post, there was a woman, a guest columnist, who wrote an article about because we're in war right now.
Right.
And our ministry, Messiah's Mandate, from day one, well, not really day one. From day one, we've been communicating on this, but it was about probably day 3 or 4. I realized that we could help, and we started raising funds. And I was shocked at the amount of money that people were sending. So we've been able to help soldiers. We bought, because we were not ready for this, and everyone knows that. That's not a secret. No, we were not ready for this war. So the government, the IDF, had not equipped our Miloimnikim, which are reserve soldiers. So we're buying helmets, bulletproof vests. Last week, we just delivered, I think, 20 pairs of high-quality winter boots. Right now, in winter, it's raining every day. It's wet. It's cold. These guys are fighting in Lebanon against Hezbollah. So, if you're not aware, we're not just fighting Hamas, but we're fighting Hezbollah, which is like a real army. Hamas is a terrorist army, but Hezbollah, they're stronger than the Lebanese army, which is bizarre. I mean, we could talk about that another day. But so because of the generosity of folks, we've been able to help so many people. And this woman wrote an article, and she basically said, she used our ministry, and I think she mentioned 2 other ministries, and quoted somebody else basically saying, we are just as evil, if not more evil than Hamas, because we're stealing Jewish souls. And then she said that I personally actually train people on how to use humanitarian aid to steal souls, when in fact, well, listen, we share the gospel. That's what Shelanu TV is about. We are convinced that Yeshua is the Messiah. We share that with Jewish people. We share that with non-Jewish people. I've been to Africa. I've been to Singapore. I've been all over the world, Russia, Ukraine. We'll share that with anybody who's willing to listen. But when we're helping people, we don't say, all right, well, here is this aid you need, but we pray this prayer. God forbid. So we contacted the Jerusalem Post. My lawyer did. And he said, listen, you slandered our client. And listen, I would never listen. When we were on Shelanu at the beginning and they wanted to take us off, we had people saying, you need to sue you need to sue the government. We're like, no, we're not going to bring that negative attention on Israel. We are going to bless Israel. We're going to bless our government. Did they do the wrong thing? Yes. But we're not going to go there. And when they slandered me in Jerusalem Post, I wasn't going to, take them to court. And number one, I don't have time or energy for that. But we just said, listen, let Ron respond. And fortunately, they did. I had to sign a paper saying that I released them from any further. And they published, and I was able to address the accusations. But the fact is, we love Israel. Our children go into the army. I imagine your children. Do you have? How old's your daughter?
My oldest daughter right now. She's 20, and she's serving.
She's serving
on the border of Lebanon. I can't tell you where though.
Tell us.
Because it's a secret. No, I can't. No. It's the Israeli, secret. You can't say what they're doing.
Yeah, and my wife was a drill sergeant in the Air Force.
My wife was in the Air Force as well.
Oh, really?
Not a drill sergeant, though.
Okay, well, my wife was a big shot.
Yeah.
And my kids, they didn't take me. I was 38 when I moved here. But if you know my wife, you can't even imagine. She's very sweet. I'm sure she didn't get much activity out of it.
It's not very scary.
No,
I can't imagine her yelling at other.
No.
But amazing.
Give me 20! So anyways, so no, we don't want to steal anybody's souls. No. When we help, when we do humanitarian aid, in fact, right now we're getting ready to raise funds for right after we got back here, we were in France on October the 7th. And we were on our way in a train going from Geneva, Switzerland to Marseille, France. And we start seeing what's going on. Right. Never imagined that it was on the scale that it was. So when people, we said, first it's like rockets. We're like, rockets. I live in Ashkelon, which is 10 minutes from Gaza. Rockets are like cereal in the morning. It's what you do. And then we started hearing that there are terrorists inside of Israel. Yeah. Thinking 10, 20 maximum.
That was the original reports, too. They were like 12. They said there's 12 terrorists.
Yeah, we never imagined it was 3,000, 4,000. No. Some say it was even higher and that those numbers are being held back. Right. Kidnapped, I'm thinking, as horrible as it is, maybe 5 people. Yeah. Maybe 246, never imagined. So when we finally get back to Israel 6 days later, and we would have come back, we're on the phone with El Al People are telling us, don't go back to Israel,
right.
go to America. We're like, are you crazy? This is home. These are our people. And we finally get back on the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. And we go straight from the airport to a moshav. A moshav is, for lack of a better term, it's a farming neighborhood where people pull together and you own your own property. The difference between a kibbutz and a moshav is a kibbutz is based on socialism, where everything is owned collectively, and a moshav is you have your private farming area. So we go to this dinner because a lot of the moshavim and the kibbutzim, they became army bases in the South, and we live in the South. And we went straight to this dinner for soldiers, and it was like an honor for me just to be there. And they're honored that we're there, the soldiers.
Right.
Like, because it's not like I grew up in America. You grew up in America.
Yeah.
You know, soldiers are kind of stoic, scary, tough.
Yeah.
In Israel, everybody's a soldier. So it's not only the guy who may lift weights, but it's the computer geek. It's the guy who works at the gas station.
It's also your uncle, your brother, your friends, your cousins, your neighbors.
Right. It's everybody, whether they want to be there or not. And they're scared and they're alone. So the fact that there are civilians coming and feeding them and loving on them, it means so much to them. Like, I saw a video yesterday, I was telling you earlier, and this woman was saying, she was commenting on the video. She's got 150,000 Twitter followers, and she's a pro-Palestine activist, and she shows a video and says, "Look, I've never seen such soldiers celebrating their inhumanity." And I looked at the video, and they're eating, and they're happy eating.
Right.
What she doesn't understand is that they're not happy eating because people are dying. They're saying, you, Ron, Evan, other Israelis have sent us food, and we're making you a video to saying, yes, we're down here fighting a war and it's scary and we'd rather not be here, but thank you for the food.
Right.
Anyways.
For caring.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're at this dinner, and a woman comes up to me, and I think she spoke to Ilana, my wife, and realized that we work in humanitarian aid. And she said, could you get a bulletproof vest for my son? I said, what do you mean? Right. This is the beginning. I'm like, that's not my job. We have an army. We have the IDF. Go to your commander. She's like, no, you don't understand. They don't have enough.
Right.
It's like, no, I didn't believe her. I thought she was, but she convinced me. We made a video. Money came in. We started. So that's where it all started. But her son, we have a picture of Ilana and I with him. Sweet kid, Oded. 2 weeks later, he's one of the first casualties. When I say casualties, he didn't die. Right. He was injured, and he was shot. He had a vest, a bulletproof vest, but he was shot. And just to be clear, the Army, from what I understand, they're not sending in combat soldiers without vests. Most soldiers are actually not in Gaza.
Right.
But we were not, in terms of a logistics point of view, we were not ready.
Right.
He got shot in the side. He's now paralyzed from the waist down. Wow. We bought him a gaming computer because he was just sitting there all day. It's like 2.5 months ago. Now they're trying to raise $200,000 to send him to Italy to get special treatment so that he'll be able to walk again. But no, they don't. At this point, I tell everybody, the donations that we get come from Christians all over the world who love Israel. Some of them, they know that I am a believer. Some of them have no idea. Like, typically when you're helping somebody and say, now, by the way, I need you to know what I believe. Yeah. We're just helping people, loving when it comes up. We never run away from it. In fact, you were with me in kibbutz Nir Oz, which is right almost in Egypt. And it's, a kilometer from Gaza. So we were in kibbutz Nir Oz, and I'm being taken around by a group of soldiers, and one of them, who was an Orthodox Jew from upstate New York, an area where we actually have a Tikkun congregation, and he just starts asking too many questions. Not that I'm ashamed, but I'm there to help and to serve. Right. And he said, well, how do you know these Christians? And I said, well, I'm a Messianic Jew. Do you know what a Messianic Jew is? And I could tell for a minute it was like he was like, wait, like I just kind of blew his world
Rocked
away.
his
Like,
world, yeah.
wait, you're helping me and you're getting Christians, but you believe in Jesus. So he knew what a messy, and there's like 8 other soldiers around.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we're Jewish people. We believe in Jesus. We live here, serve in the army. Da, da. And he was like, awesome. You know, that, I mean, like, what are you going to say to the guy that we have that in that particular battalion?
Testimony.
I think we've probably given over $100,000.
Wow.
So,
Right.
he would, and that night they all got helmets that we bought and bulletproof vests that we bought. In fact, the reason we were there is they had this ceremony for me and Ilana, and I kept saying it's not us, it's our donors.
It's our donors, right.
But it meant so much for them.
Right.
And one of the sad things, and we'll kind of close the broadcast here, but the battalion commander, they actually call that in Hebrew Magad, which sounds like my God. So when they said you're going to meet my God, I was like, well, I met him, but it's an acronym, and so the battalion commander, he showed us around. It was a big deal, like that you know, he was a lieutenant colonel, so just before being a general. And you notice I just said he was because last week he was killed. And you know, one of the things in the Israeli army, it's a phrase that is used all over the army, which is "achai," after me.
After me.
And it's unlike most armies in the world, but our commanders lead our soldiers into battle
In the field.
Whereas most other armies, the colonels and generals, you guys go and get killed, and we'll hang back here and strategize.
Right.
So he was in an apartment building in Gaza that was apparently booby trapped. And what they do is they lure the Israeli soldiers in, and then they shoot it with an RPG, and then the bombs inside go off. So he and 2 other guys from this battalion, tomorrow night, we're going to be having, I don't want to say celebration. It was supposed to be a celebration, but a huge banquet with Battalion 630. And it was supposed to be last week. And it was supposed to be last week because they were supposed to get out 2 weeks ago. And he was only in Gaza because at the last minute, they said, we need you guys to go on one more mission.
Wow.
And these are all reserve guys. Right. The Magad, he is not a career army guy. He is in the reserves, goes every year and does his training.
Right.
But he is a chef in one of the was.
I mean, that's an important distinction, I think. I mean, in America, it's not like that. But in Israel, these guys, that when we say the reserve, these are just normal, everyday citizens that have businesses, married, children. It's not like you said, they're not special. This isn't their career track.
Right.
These are guys that dropped everything, wherever they were, and went to defend Israel. Such as...
He's got 5 kids,
right,
3 daughters, and 2 twin sons that were a surprise to them 4 years ago.
Wow.
And he was a chef in a hotel called Galea Kinneret, which means waves of the Sea of Galilee. And I've been there. I've eaten his food. And when we met him and we realized all that, he said, well, you guys, you're invited back. Come back when the war's over. I'm going to feed you guys, take care of you. And sadly, he was killed last week. And we woke up in Ashkelon. And I was actually praying on my balcony. And Ilana came out in tears and told me. And we were all at a meeting with you.
Right. And
we got in the car and we started coming to Tel Aviv. And we said, you know what? Let's just keep going. And we went all the way to Haifa to the funeral. And it was so powerful to hear his dad talk. His dad, a former warrior himself, his wife, his sister. And his sister said this. She said, you know what? I begged him. I said, Nati, don't be a hero.
Right.
And he was like, I have to do what I have to do. And their mother had just died.
Wow.
And she's like, don't leave me alone. Do not leave me alone here. And when she heard they were coming out, was the Friday 2 weeks ago, she said, Zachiti, you know, I won. I got the prize. Yeah. He's coming home. And then he got called back in and he died. So, yeah, that is ending on kind of a sad note, but that's kind of our reality here in Israel right now.
Absolutely.
So if people do want to, you know, help with these soldiers, we're getting ready to give a gift to his wife and family. Oded, we're going to start a fund on our website. You can go to roncantor.com, which is my name. That's not the name of our ministry. It's just the name people remember. It's called Messiah's Mandate. But there you can find, we're starting a fund called the Oded Fund. That's the name of the young man who was paralyzed. And we're going to use that fund to help all those who've been affected by the war in the future. So we're hopefully going to keep that going. And, And if people want to learn about Shelanu TV, what do they do?
SheLanuTV.com is our English website where you...
Wait a minute. You're saying all I need to do is just type into my computer or my phone, SheLanuTV.com?
Shelanu, SHELANU, TV.com. SheLanuTV.com is our English site so that everyone, all of you, the viewers, and everyone, they can find out about what we're doing, how we're doing it, reaching Israel with the truth of Yeshua. Jesus is the Messiah. We also have Shelanu.tv, which if someone's interested, it's all in Hebrew, because that's actually one of our main platforms that we reach Israelis in Israel. But if they want to see it with the Hebrew, the original, Shelanu.tv. But SheLanuTV.com is where they can find out information about what we're doing. We're also on all the social media platforms, not just our website. We're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. We're everywhere. So pretty much on any social media platform, if you type in SheLanuTV.com, they can find out about...
Or Shelanu TV.
Shelanu TV, if they want the Hebrew.
If you want to see it. And on social media, if you're in Facebook...
All of them, actually, it's a little tricky because...
it's in Hebrew.
It's in Hebrew. So if you can write Shelanu in Hebrew...
We'll put it, I'll tell you what, we'll put the link in
Yes.
the show notes and you'll be able to go and visit us and see us everywhere.
Absolutely. So it's been great. It's been great this first time hearing about Shelanu TV. I think it's great also to be able to share with the viewers what's going on in Israel from an Israeli perspective with the war and all of that, just the amazing stories. And it'd be great if the viewers as well, if you have anything you want to hear about or you have any questions or anything at all in the comments, please let us know.
Do you think people should share this video?
I think it's probably a good idea.
If you're on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, there's a share button, but there's also a subscribe button if you're watching on Apple Podcast or wherever you find us. There's a way to share and subscribe, and we are going to do this every week, right?
That's right. Once a week, we're going to come and continue, tell stories, talk about Israel, faith, everything from an Israeli perspective to really share with what's going on. So we thank you all for joining us, and it's been a blessing, and may you be blessed as you continue your week. May you just feel God, may He be with you, and may you just hear His voice. And until next time, for Shelanu TV, see you soon.